I'm glad you mentioned that because it leads me into my next question. And obviously, you explain it in the podcast more in depth. But what would you say to those people, particularly with colonial history? Those people that would say, "Oh yeah, but all that history is in the past. It happened a long time ago and whatever." And what would you say to those people that?
I would say listen to my podcast episode. listen to the podcast episodes, and you will understand why lots of things that happen in our everyday lives and what we hear about in the news and what becomes trending in social media is very much linked to what happened all those centuries ago. We can look back into the past and find clear patterns within the past that keep replicating on and on and on today, because history very much teaches us about human nature. It teaches us about the politics and the history and the culture and how they're all intertwined to make us who we are and to show how we evolve as social beings over time. There was rather a time when history was very kind of polarized. If you were looking at Black history, it would be perceived as, well, that's not my history. A lot of Europeans, a lot of white people wouldn't really see it as their own history. That they wouldn't see it as something that they could take ownership of, and it's probably because they don't see themselves in it. They see colonialism as something that happened to the Black man, and they don't really look at it holistically enough to see, well, actually, you've got a role in it as well. You may not have actively enslaved anybody. You may not have got on a boat and gone and actively colonized somewhere, but you are reaping the benefits, particularly in this country. You are reaping the benefits of this every single day of your life, no matter how dire your life gets. No matter how dire you think your life might be, no matter how basic you might think your life is over here, you are still within probably the top 20% of the richest people on this planet, regardless of how base and how dire your circumstances you might think your circumstances are. Everybody needs to understand the role that their forefathers have played. There is a lot of talk now about various royal families around the world and governments talking about reparations and apologizing for the benefits, the economic, the political and social benefits that they have made from the slave trade, from colonialism. There's a lot of talk about that now, and we have our current monarch now who is condoning an investigation into how the royal family have acquired and amassed their wealth through colonialism and through the slave trade as well. So we've got this wonderful opening up of a narrative that was once closed, that was once a taboo topic, that is now being brought into the open, and people are starting to wake up and realize, hey, this isn't just about their history, but it's actually our history as well. And what I want people to do is to make that journey from saying it's our history to actually saying it's my history. Because when the Europeans and the Americans, white Europeans, when the white man, to put it bluntly, can actually stand up and take ownership and say, do you know what? This is my history. I may not have done it directly, but I am certainly directly benefiting from the legacy of what happened in the past. And I think once we can all acknowledge that, I think then we'll be able to move forward and we'll have a breakthrough.